This is 2 Minutes About Time with Luke Allen and Robert E.G. Black, the podcast that takes a look at the film About Time 2 minutes at a time. I am Richard Curtis, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, well, you can just travel back in time 2 minutes and listen to something else.
I'm one of your hosts, Luke Allen. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Robert E.G. Black.
Hello.
And we're joined with a special guest for this week, Ewan.
Hello.
So today, we're looking at minutes 73 and 74 of About Time, wherein it's still raining. And,
It's fallen.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it is a lovely shot of the tent falling that we got. Well, you know, with the ripping and the falling. Yeah. It looks like it'd be one of those days that'd either be really annoying or really fun on set. I can't quite figure out which one it would be.
On set, I'm betting fun, but I've been under a tent like this when it was leaking and it sucked.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, I guess when it's controlled and you know it's going to happen,
Right.
It's fun.
And we're going to lift the tent, you're all going to run. Okay. Sounds great.
And so what we hear from Richard Curtis in the behind the scenes of this scene as well, is he just tells people to act exactly as they would with all this stuff happening. It's like, you know, if there's a drop of water that doesn't hit you, don't react to that water hitting you. Just respond exactly as you would respond. Which I think is good because, people wouldn't just be scared and panicked. They would get to that point of hysteria and just finding it hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Which we do get to see.
Yeah, we get something.
It's one of these scenes that isn't bad if you corpse, really.
When the one kid gets wet, the woman behind him just starts laughing at him. It's great.
And so we get the shot that we get of Tom Hollander walking really angrily is Richard Curtis's favourite shot in the whole film.
Oh, really?
I mean, it is a lovely shot.
Yeah.
We've only got like a little bit, like the first 20 seconds of this minute, the first 17
I love the
seconds.
shot after Harry as well, where it's just the cupcake table alone in the rain. Everyone's gone.
Yeah.
It's a nice shot.
Is this the Tom Holland, the same, the umbrella thing, or is this the...
This is him just walking angrily.
He just
At the end
is
of
like
the
the last one. Everyone's running from under the tent and he just walks. He doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
So then we sort of, unless we've got any other comments on the rain, we cut to the best man speech, where the first best man is Rory. Yeah. Yeah, I like these different decisions for best man, because at first I was like, why would he pick Harry to be the best man? But the more I think about it, like, the more, Harry, we'll talk more when we get to that. So when Rory does his speech, he goes, "Hello, I'm Rory. When Tim asked me to be his best man, I was terrified, and I thought, best thing is to find a book about speeches, and here it is." And it says think of really funny anecdotes, and there's actually a very hilarious story from work. It was quite a complicated case based on an issue of cross-amortization of ownership of post-divorce properties. And let me just explain the context and the defendant. And then we cut, which is, part of me wants to hear the story. But I do, it's Rory is one of the best characters in this, and I think it's, once again, a really good scene from Rory.
I do, I mean, I've only seen these little tiny bits, but I do feel like in that bit, he's in a slight danger of Hugh Grant suing him for stealing his entire persona. All the expressions, all the little mannerisms, they do feel very early Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
As Donald does at times in this film. But I am loving your sort of cynicism to these moments. It's so, we don't get this normally. It's lovely and fresh.
It's like whenever Woody Allen decided he would not be in his own films, he used to get people like John Cusack, and it always felt like they were just doing Woody Allen. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you're in a Richard Curtis film playing a young, kind of sexy guy, you've got to channel Hugh Grant.
Yep.
Foppishness.
It's weird that as far as I'm aware, I own the DVD of stuff like Annie Hall, and I've been meaning to watch them. I'm pretty sure the only Woody Allen film I've seen is one that he's not in. And that's Midnight in Paris. Because I watched that for this show, because it's a Rachel McAdams time travel movie. And I really liked it, but yeah, I heard reading it that there are characters in that feel like Woody Allen characters. Is there a reason why he stopped acting in his own films, or?
Well, he got slightly too old.
He was too old.
Yeah, he
was
too
old
old to
before
play
he
the
stopped.
romantic leads, but especially if there was sort of a dynamism to the characters, they had to sort of be quite physical. I think he eventually gave other people that part. But They would come in and just sort of impersonate Woody, so it was a bit strange.
I'm surprised though that he didn't go down like at least the Tarantino route of just having like a smaller part in all of his films.
Oh, he did. He did a lot.
Because he definitely doesn't in Midnight in Paris. That's all I know. Because I was talking to my dad about it because he had seen more Woody Allen films than me, and he specifically talked about how much he doesn't like Woody Allen. So that might be the reason I haven't seen that many of them. So he was like, "Oh, and he'll always be in it, won't he?" And then I was like, because he assumed he was the lead. I was like, "No, the lead's Owen Wilson." Incidentally, possibly the best Owen Wilson performance I've seen. I really recommend Midnight in Paris. It's a great film.
Did you ever see who is the guy? Who's the English guy in it? Hiddleston. Did you ever see Tom Hiddleston do his Owen Wilson impression?
I think I've seen it
on Graham Norton.
Huh.
I think so. I'm not sure.
It was about meeting him on set of Midnight in Paris, actually. And he does a great Owen Wilson impression. It's on YouTube somewhere. You should look it up. It's very funny.
Yes, I think I have seen it. Cause I was just looking at it now, and it's him alongside Robert De Niro, isn't it? Yeah, I think I've seen this.
Tom Hiddleston thought that everyone was playing people in different times. So he met Owen Wilson and said, "So what time period are you in?" And Owen was like, "No, man, I'm in the now. I'm in the now."
That was even a decent impression there, not gonna lie. That was
I think everyone's got their stock Owen Wilson, isn't it? It's just sort of a stone surfer type.
Yeah. It surprised me. I've not been a massive Owen Wilson fan, so it did surprise me when I watched Midnight in Paris. So actually, he's a good actor in that. It's a very strange film, but I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's a little similar to About Time in the fact that it goes, time travel just exists, deal with it, let's tell a story.
Yeah.
Except Rachel McAdams is a lot less likable in Midnight in Paris.
Yeah. True, I'd forgotten she was in it.
Yeah, so I guess you have seen a Rachel McAdams time travel film then.
Yeah, without even remembering.
Yeah. She definitely is channeling more Regina George in Midnight in Paris than Mary from About Time. So I always forget that it's Rachel McAdams in Mean Girls. It's such a different performance.
Yeah. Different time, really, yeah.
I feel like I'm losing my film credentials. I don't know Woody Allen films. I'm talking about Mean Girls. I'm just...
I think you're young enough to get away with it.
Yeah, I think you're young enough to get away with it.
Don't worry about all the Bertolucci films you've still got to catch up on.
I mean, that's the point of lockdown. I've got to, I'm going back to, I'll be joining college after this. I'll be in a film class. I've got to know my stuff before I get into that film class. I mean, I probably...
You got to buy the Beat Takeshi collection and then you'll know you've landed.
Have got any notes? No, I guess
on Rory's, Kit Kat is having a great time with Rory's speech, which is funny. Because no one else is.
Yeah, why don't Kit Kat and Rory get together? They seem a better pairing than Kit Kat and Jay.
And at one point you can see Joanna checking out Jimmy, which is also kind of...
Yeah, Jimmy and Joanna would be a good pairing.
Possibly, yeah. Although I like the pairing at the tent of Joanna and Harry.
Yeah. He's probably a little bit too old, isn't he?
I don't know if she'd care.
Because I was thinking Joanna and Harry, but then I'm like, there's probably quite an age difference, but I'd imagine at least for a one-time fling, they'd get well. They'd both very quickly get each other angry. They probably wouldn't last very long.
Oh yeah, he's 21 years older than her.
Quite a difference, man. But he doesn't seem that old, to be honest.
He's got grey in his hair.
But it's stylish grey. It's not old man grey.
The book that Rory has is The Best Man's Speech and Duties, published by confetti.co.uk, which you can still buy on Amazon.
And all good bookstores.
If there are any.
If there are any still surviving the pandemic.
Around here, there's only one bookstore even around anymore. It's Barnes & Noble.
Really? Well, you can still find them. You can still find them in the UK, but I don't know if they're going to be reopening or not. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. How well do they do?
Yeah. Some people, traditionalists still go.
Well, yeah, I still like going to a used bookstore. There's still one pretty close by.
So yeah, I mean, that's basically minute 73. We can go straight into 74, I guess, unless we've got any other comments on Rory's speech. So yeah, I guess, Ewan, without your knowledge of the film.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's fine, carry on.
Well, without your knowledge of the film, Tim then stepping into the cupboard at the end of this scene was probably a bit weird.
Oh, now you've told me that's how he time travels. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine without the context, it's just kind of, what's going on? Yeah, when we slide into minute 74, we've got Harry's speech, and apparently Tom Hollander did an incredible full wedding speech, when they were filming, and the theme of the speech was about how he wanted to sleep with Mary, and how other men in the past have probably slept with Mary, and how if Tim and Mary break up, he may get the chance to sleep with Mary.
Right.
Which is definitely fitting within Tom Hollander's character.
Yeah.
Although when we talked about the age difference, it is kind of odd as well. I mean, how old is Rachel McAdams supposed to be as Mary?
I don't know. She's closer to his age than Vanessa Kirby is. She's 10 years older.
Yeah, hang on. How on earth is Rachel McAdams now 41 years old? Like, it feels, at least in the... I mean, I know this film was, 7 years ago? But it feels like she's playing someone still in their early 20s.
Right.
A lot of actors can play younger up to a certain age, that's the thing.
That's true, actually, yeah, because it's weird with... But that's that a few times, actually, yeah, when you get, like, films, especially with teenagers, when you're so used to seeing adults playing teenagers, when you then see something when teenagers are playing teenagers, they feel younger than they are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's so strange. Yeah, I remember having this discussion a few times. Because it's like that with some of John Hughes' stuff, really, because he used actual teenagers a lot of the time. And a few other teen films like that. You're watching this and you're like, they're like 12, and then you're like, no, they're 16. This is what a normal 16-year-old looks like. Which admittedly I should know, being a 16-year-old. But they automatically feel young when you're watching them on screen. Yeah, it is strange. So then, Harry, I'm just checking if there's anything else on my notes. So yeah, we've got Harry's speech, which is, when Tim asked me to do his best man speech, my immediate reaction was, how much are you going to pay me, you little shit? I don't write for free, you know. It's just, I like that we don't see any more of that, which is odd, because that's a good way to start the best man speech, isn't it? Like, the idea that Tim's already regretting him
it's not even that bad.
And I like that the speeches are happening in the house. There's something quite sweet about that. Like, it feels like they're excluding Mary a little bit, though. With everything being at Tim's home and all of that it's nice.
Wow. Our home's in Canada.
Yeah, it's not. She's supposed to be American, isn't she?
Yes.
How different is the accent from your American side of things, Robert? Can you tell in this?
No.
I've only noticed one Canadian accent, to be honest. I always get it, like, so close to the American accent that I can't tell. I noticed it once with a cover teacher I had in my school. And people were like, is he American? I was like, I think he's Canadian. Because that's always exciting, having a teacher with an American or Canadian accent in England. It's like, whoa, it's exciting. It's like a TV star. It's that voice.
Canadians are the same as Americans, but they just say a boot instead
of
I was
going to say, unless you hear them say about your stuff.
He used to do a great running gag in South Park about Canadian accents.
Mm-hmm.
How the Canadian kid would just say, what's all that a boot? A boot. There was a funny Rick Moranis film as well once, where he was playing, he's Canadian, where they just say hoser a lot, for some reason.
Wasn't there even a gag? Wasn't there even a gag in How I Met Your Mother about, like, made up Canadian stereotypes?
Yeah, there's the Canadian bar. Yeah.
The thing is, I'm not normally a fan of a lot of American sitcoms, but Community and How I Met Your Mother, like, I like them as sitcoms. I think they're a bit different. I know that, like, I mean, I guess the next question is, Ewan, what's your view on The American Office?
I never actually saw it in the end.
I've only seen a couple of episodes.
For various reasons. It was one of those things, the timing of it, and I didn't get to see it, so no hard feelings or anything. I know a lot of people who love it, and I'm a Steve Carell fan, so I think by the time I was ready to kind of maybe give it a go, there was so many episodes made.
Yeah.
That it just felt a bit daunting to kind of start on it, really.
And it's one of those
American shows.
It's one of those as well where people I've heard people say don't watch season 1. And it's like, I'm on the ground of like, I'm a completionist, so I like watching the whole thing. But if I know I've got to get through a season of not good stuff before it gets to the good stuff, it's like, I don't know, is it worth it? I'll probably watch it. The only thing is I've only got season 1 on DVD.
Just skip episode 1.
Okay.
It's basically a British script with American actors doing.
Yeah, they've tried to really remake our first episode as their first episode, which I think just was a really bad idea. And they didn't completely shake the shackles and find their own feet until at least a few in. So, from what I've heard, yeah, it's best to start a bit later down the line.
Is there a Keith equivalent in the American office?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. He's called Kevin.
Yep.
He's called Kevin. I've said hello to him on Twitter, so we have.
You're basically, if you say hello to someone on Twitter, you're basically best friends with them.
We basically met in terms of acknowledging one another. There was one because they were in talks to make it while we were doing our Christmas specials, and I did try and blag it so I could go over and claim my own equivalent in America. And there was one moment where I thought Ricky might be going for it, but that didn't happen.
I think your part that would have worked because your part is like.
I was the only one who could have done it. Yeah. I think I was the only one who could have done it because it was such a sort of a smallish, and it would have just drifted in and out. Obviously, in America, obviously it wasn't one of the parts where they cast a really well-known actor. All the sort of the main leads were well-known people. It was the one part where they could have got someone like me in. But yeah, it didn't happen. But never mind, I'm sure he does a great job.
But I guess if they go too much into sticking with the odd member of the original cast, you have the risk of the American remake of the IT Crowd.
Yeah, but they never know if these things are going to work or not until they try them. That's the thing.
Mm. I'm surprised
most of the failed ones we forget.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the large number of our sitcoms you've tried to remake.
A lot, yeah.
And the hit rate is so low that it seems even more surprising.
Yeah, you'd think you'd have given up by now. And
it's just because it's easier to buy an idea than to create an idea. I guess that's what I think.
Does British comedy not translate as well in America as American comedy can in Britain, or like what's the deal with that? 'Cause we don't tend to remake American sitcoms. We just tend to air them non-stop on E4.
Yeah. We're, I guess, more bigoted than that. We don't want to watch your show. Do it ourselves.
And you want to make...
If you go to the coasts in America, they're big, you'll find big fans of British comedy. When I went to LA, I got recognised all the time because they love the UK office.
Mm. Yeah.
And, similar in New York, the kind of civilized, the civilized parts of America.
Yeah, because I feel like we've got some great sitcoms here in the UK, which I know wouldn't translate well in the States. Like, I mean, I guess it's to get your opinion as well. I'm a massive fan of Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah, I don't like Gavin and Stacey.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, from what you've seen of it, would you say it probably wouldn't translate to the States?
Well, I think maybe it would. I mean, they seem to have taken James Corden on board, and essentially it's a James Corden show, so I don't see why it shouldn't.
I love this. Like, all the things which I have, like, strong, loving opinions of, you're like, hate that. It's just,
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm too old, I'm cynical, that's the problem.
I think I'm only cynical of the stuff that my family try to make me watch. Like, a show which I could love if I found it myself. If my family sit me down and like, we're gonna watch this, I'll just complain about everything in it.
Yeah. That's normal. That's normal.
So I guess, should we go on to Jay's speech?
Yeah.
This is the rude one, is it?
It is. Yeah. It's the saucy speech.
The saucy, Richard Curtis in naughty mode.
I mean, it is interesting that this film gets really on the edge of its 12 certificate a lot, 'cause it's rated 12, but there's a lot of things which just fit within there. Whereas in the States, you've got it rated R for a whole manner of, I think it's mostly for language in the States, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they say the F word about 7 or 8 times in this, which for BBFC consider fine for a 12, but in your box-ticking MPAA society, it's like, oh, that's 5 times too many.
It's amazing. I remember when the 12th certificate came in, it's amazing how filmmakers have exploited it in this country.
Yeah.
Because films now, I mean, that would be a straight away at 15. If it was released the way it is now, that would be a 15, and there's no way you'd want to release it as a 15, you'd want it as a PG. So 12 has let people get away with so much in this country, I think, in terms of what you can put in a family film, in inverted commas, you weren't able to in the past.
if we didn't have the 12 certificate, I would have struggled with the short that I did recently. Once again, I didn't need to get an age rating, but I've got a weird obsession with age ratings, and so I wanted to go. And I made a film about addiction, and I wanted to use it because I spoke with a lot of different addicts in order to present the idea that an addict could be anyone, pretty much, and it was normalizing the idea of an addict and how much their struggles are. And I wanted to show that to younger people in schools and stuff. And if the 12 didn't exist, it probably would have got a 15. I think it's probably at the edge of a 15 anyway. It had one F word. It had sight of cocaine and marijuana. When I submitted it to the BBFC, I requested a 12A, but I was like, it's probably going to get a 15. So it was a relief when it got the 12A. But also I think there are those strange connotations with the 12A as well. That it's, I don't know, I feel like when I see a 12 rated film, a lot of the time, often except rom-coms and Richard Curtis stuff and things like that, but a lot of the time, it feels like I assume that a 12 rated film is always just going to be tame. Because it feels like it's not, they don't want to be a PG kids film.
Yeah.
But they don't want to go too far to go higher either. So, your 12 rated action movies, I mean, the Bonds are alright, but once again, that's like an expected amount. They don't go too far. And same with, your 12 rated comedies, they're going to try and push, go near the knuckle, but not go quite far enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the UK Office was between 12 and 15 most episodes. I think most episodes are 12s, aren't they?
I can't even remember, actually. It was the thing with TV is you don't really know when it's out on TV.
I guess they rate the whole series in one go, I think, as well. They might
when it came out on DVD, first of all, I think it may have even been a 15. I can't remember, but
yeah, the DVDs I've got a 15, but it depends how many episodes or whether it's just one episode per season. Oh, I bet if I go on the BBFC website, it's gonna list me all the American Office episodes, so it's gonna get too confusing.
Yeah.
I'll look into that some other time, but I think a lot of sitcoms like that, a lot of the episodes could pass at 12 or even PG, but you have the one, the odd joke here.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
It's good. And I mean, I just see more and more when I think of you in the office, I'm sure a lot of people do talk about it. I love that Scotch egg scene. Is that one that comes up quite a lot?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of the things that comes up the most. Because there were three, there were three different scenes where I had a Scotch egg. One for each series. But then the first one gets mentioned the most because we had a lot of outtakes with it. When I was doing with Martin, where we kind of, we couldn't get through it really, which was, an interesting, couple of hours. So yeah, it definitely gets mentioned a lot, and especially with people, what was one of the weird things in America where people would go, what were you eating in there? Because they don't have Scotch eggs in America. Yeah. So people go, what was that scene? Were you eating an apple? And I go, believe me, that wasn't an apple.
I would never have even thought of a Scotch egg as being remotely like an apple.
It's just round and sort of weird colour, sort of orangey colour, I guess. They weren't sure what it was, but, a very uniquely British snack, so to say.
And I guess you've got a slight Richard Curtis link with the fact that The Office did a comic relief episode as well.
It didn't really. I think Ricky
an episode that involved Red Nose Day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Your Ali G.
That was all set on Red Nose Day. Yeah, that was a great fun episode to do.
It's such a good idea. I've never seen any other TV show just do an episode set on Red Nose Day because it's such a big deal in the UK.
Yeah, it seems obvious, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess you don't need any rights or anything to do it. They just ploughed on with it.
So I guess that episode didn't coincide with Red Nose Day or anything like that.
No. There was nothing. There was no clever planning like that back then. Yeah, it just went out as a normal episode.
And you pull off that Ali G costume really well. That's the thing. I didn't expect how well it suits you to an extent.
Yeah, that's another one that gets. That's the other thing, other than the Scotch egg, the Ali G costume is kind of.
Is that known?
Yeah, people remember that. Well? People remember that.
Sorry? How big is Ali G in the States is the next question. Because I know he did an American series, didn't he?
He was, people know Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he did stuff. They probably knew him better as Borat to be honest. Borat was pretty big, I think. But
I like the American series he did. Was it last year he did that Who Was America series as well?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. But that was so, like, I'm pretty sure he got fined like millions for Who Was America with different gags and jokes he did, like.
Oh, he's been sued left, right and centre by all sorts of people. I think he almost got sued once by literally the country of Kazakhstan.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't.
And he gate crashed a Kazakhstani press conference at one point. Because he heard they were coming to town and he went to gate crash it as Borat to protest that they were coming after him.
Anyway, let's read out Jay's speech and see how much of this I'm going to have to bleep in post. So Jay says, these are the girls available to him at the time. Hello girls. And this is how far he got with each of them. Let me explain the code. 5, 8, full penetrative, and then we cut out. But it's weird that 8 happens to be Scarlett Curtis, Richard Curtis's daughter.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, there you go. Of course, the way things are filmed, because you film you film one way and then you film the other, there's a good chance she wouldn't have known what cutaway she was being used for. So until the film was edited together, you could have.
Okay,
she might have not even known that she was.
It's her photo on his screen.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The only one actually at the wedding is the 5.
Yeah.
She could get a cutaway to her.
She's embarrassed, but not too embarrassed. Like, it's a good reaction that she gets. Like,
yeah, she takes a drink.
But yeah, it's just an interesting choice. And so Tim then goes back in time again because he wasn't happy with Jay's speech, and we get his dad's speech, which I think it's a lovely speech. I mean, what's me being the sentimental person and you being the cynic, Ewan, what do you get of the overall dad's speech?
To me, it's just, he's gone into a greeting card shop. He's gone through, he's browsed through, he's got all the cards that say for wedding, on your wedding day. And he's got all the little platitudes that are written inside, and he's written them all down. And they're just written together in a speech, and he's read it out. Well, I got out of it.
Good. So what we get in this minute of the speech is the dad saying, and so, a toast to the man with the worst haircut, but the best bride in the room. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, sorry.
I want to say that again.
Yeah, I might want to say that again. Good point. And so, a toast to the man with the worst haircut, but the best bride in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim and Mary. And yeah, I like this, that his complimenting of Mary it's almost a slight callback to earlier on when he asked his dad, what do you think of her? And he says, I like her more than you already. Like, he's nice to Mary throughout, which is...
Wouldn't it be funnier if he actually did have a bad haircut rather than just a normal haircut?
We've talked about this. His haircut is commented on several times in the film, and it's fine.
I know. It's like he wrote the script thinking the guy's going to have a bad haircut, and they got there and went, we can't have the lead having a bad haircut, that would be ridiculous. And so they just haven't changed any of the scripts.
In one of the opening scenes...
I find laziness, I find that really weird when that sort of thing happens in a film. I find it really weird.
Yeah.
So in one of the opening scenes, he says, I wish I used time... Like, what are you going to use time travel for? And I think the first thing he says is, first I'd get a better haircut. And...
Either he's put in loads and loads of ginger gags, and they've had to tone it down because it's like, well, we can't be nasty to ginger people anymore because the world's changed. Or they were going to have somebody with a bad haircut, and they thought, we can't have a bad haircut, and they just left in the bad haircut lines. But one way or another, somebody hasn't said, look, we've got to make a decision here, Richard. And stepped in and told him, these haircut lines aren't working, mate. You know, he's just got normal hair.
I
find it weird when that happens. I mean, if Richard Curtis genuinely listens, Richard, please feel free to drop me an email. I know, none of us are that busy at the moment. We're all on lockdown. Just take a couple of minutes, send me an email, tell me why you have the haircut line.
And so, yeah, when the dad says, Tim and Mary, the crowd go, Tim and Mary. And Tim says, that's us. And so then we cut to the dad talking to him on the stairs. And I have a note about this, I think. I can't remember what it is, but I remember writing a note starting with Dad on the stairs. Right.
But it's the only scene in the movie that doesn't happen.
That's true. It doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't happen at all. That bugged me because I didn't mind this scene.
If they'd got his actual dad in to play his dad, I might have actually watched the film. I'll watch anything with Brendan Gleeson, believe me.
Well, I guess the next question is, what do you think of Donald Gleeson's British accent?
I think Donald Gleeson can do any accent, can't he? He's like the guy at the moment. He can do a lot.
Yeah, he's good.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he can do it all. He's obviously one of the most talented actors around there at the moment.
Yeah. And I think the issue with how good an actor he is he gets so lost in the role that he's not a household name. Like, you could watch 2 or 3 Donald Gleeson's films, and in a row even, and not notice that it's Donald Gleeson in those roles.
You could watch him in the Star Wars films after this and not know it's the same person.
Right.
Yeah, so the song that's playing in the background, I can't remember what it's called, but I know that Donald requested the song. He gave Richard Curtis a CD and was like, put on one of the songs from this CD in the film, and he did. And I didn't for some reason write down the name of the song or the name of the artist, so that's our listeners' own research to do. Yeah, so the dad says, I wish I'd said I'd love you. No, I wish I'd said I love you. You did, Dad. It was implied. I'm not sure implied is good enough for a wedding day, are you? And Tim said, no, don't do it. It's fine. I'm so happy with it as it was. You really don't have to. And the dad says, I'll do what I want to do, young man. And then goes up, so yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, this scene just doesn't happen to Tim at all. And he says, will you excuse me for one moment? So, this is weird, because Tim's narrating the film.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know that this happened.
Well, we can assume that his dad told him at some point.
Yeah, maybe. And actually, that was one of the things I think I forgot to say about the haircut, is if Tim's telling us the story, if we're picturing it as Tim tells it to us, then maybe that's why he's got the same haircut throughout the whole film, because we're just picturing Tim as he is going through all these situations.
You're going way too deep into this now.
Yeah. And so the dad goes, excuse me for one moment. This is a point where, because it's a wedding, so there'll be several members of their family, I would have loved a scene, because all the men can travel back in time. All the men in this family can travel back in time. I would have loved a scene where, like, Tim goes off to go in the cupboard, and, like, an uncle walks out. Like, they're just all going back in time I think that would have been quite funny.
But presumably they can't go back in time either after they've got kids born, so they can only go so far.
Yeah, they can only go back in time to after the conception.
Unless they don't like their kid.
Yeah. The fact that Bill Nighy knows that, because he tells Tim later on, you can only go back in time to after the conception, means that maybe Tim wasn't the original child. Maybe Bill Nighy made a mistake, and he was like, I'll live with it.
That's why he doesn't like the haircut. The previous kid had great
hair. Oh my word.
Yeah, maybe this Tim's, a recent addition in Bill Nighy's timeline. Like, maybe
Tim is like Tim number 38 or something like that.
Yeah, and although for everyone else that Tim's always been there, it was actually like someone called Jemima, who was just he had a daughter called Jemima for years, made a mistake, and he was like, I guess it's Tim now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, have we got any other comments on this minute before we wrap up this Wednesday?
No.
I think we've kind of, we've covered it, haven't we?
So, where can the listeners find you on social media, Ewan?
At Ewen MacIntosh on Twitter. That's the best place to go for everything.
And, Robert, how about you?
Social media, Robert E.G. Black. Website, lemmingdrops.com.
Listeners can find me on Twitter at llama_bottle0. They can find me on Instagram at the Ginger Luke, on Facebook at Luke Allen Film. They can find this, all podcasts, radio appearances, short films, newspaper articles, anything I'm remotely involved in is at Luke Allen KDK. This podcast is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 2 Minutes About Time. They can join our Facebook group, The Cupboard, to discuss all things to do with About Time, and anything to do with this film, whether you like it or don't like it. And I guess the next question is, do you know of any interesting ways to say goodbye, Ewan? I can call to the article, but I always like to ask the guests at least once a week whether they have any intriguing ways of saying goodbye.
Just the normal ones, see you later, alligator, that sort of thing.
I don't think we've actually done that, which is strange. So yeah, there we go. See you later, alligator.
The 2 Minutes About Time theme is performed by Ethan O'Mahony and is a cover of the About Time theme originally composed by Nick Laird-Close. 2 Minutes About Time is a production of Lemming Drop Studios in association with Bottle O Productions.